I'm Bianca Contento, and I am going to talk about sexuality education for young children. Today's children are exposed to technology. They can have and collect information through media and internet. For example, is through watching cartoons in YouTube. They can learn to differentiate a male from female. But it is also important to talk to the child about what is and isn't okay for children to see. Children's curiosity about sex is natural. Most children aged 2 to 3 years old are very curious about their own and other children's bodies. They will also notice that boys and girls' bodies are different. In handling this situation, parents should explain things at child's level. For example, is to teach a child that every body part has a name and its own job to do. Everyone, especially teens, have questions about sexuality. So it is very important to be open and teach them according to their maturity level. Part of building a healthy life is to understand how body works so that you will know if everything is working the way it's supposed to do, and to be able to take good care of it so that we can prevent harm and diseases. Accurate information about sex and sexuality is a good thing because it shapes every aspect of our lives, because it involves values, thoughts, feelings, and relationships. Children start learning about sex at the same time they start learning at all. For example, toddlers should be able to name all the body parts including the genital. Everything that children learns is it begins at home. That's why parents are the first and primary sexual health educators of children. It is very important that parents should explain things in a way that children can understand given their age and level of development.
So, I am Cedric K. Istaros, and I will be continuing the report of Bianca Contento. So, it's all about sexual education. So, here are the common concerns in teaching our children the sexual education. So, first one is, if I talk about sex, will this encourage them to do it? Second is, when should I start talking to my child about sex? So, just remember that study has shown that sex education does not lead to an increase in sexual activity, but it does lead to safer and more positive interactions now and in the future. And parents should parents always know that sexual education doesn't really mean that we are encouraging our children to perform the sexual activity, but instead we are educating their children so that they will be aware about there's about sexual stuff and how to do it properly and other like their sexuality. So, when do I tell them? So, the sexuality education is a lifelong process that begins at birth and continues to infancy, preschool years, early school years, preteen years, adolescence, and adulthood. From the moment of birth, children learn about love, touch, and relationships. Infants and toddlers learn sexuality through their parents talking to them, dressing them, showing affection, playing with them, and teaching the names of the body, or the names of the body parts. So, as children grow into adolescence, developing relationships with their families and the social environment, they continue to receive messages about sexual behaviors, attitudes, and values. So, how much do I tell my children? This depends on child's age. Okay, for example, when your children is at the age of 4, 5, or 6, they are already at their stage where they are really curious of everything. So when you teach your children, don't put flowery words in teaching them. Like for example, they will asking what's the name of this body part. You're gonna tell them the exact name of it. It's not like dili kay ay imuha ng birdie or imuha ng flower. No, tell them what's really that term and what's really the name of that body part, because ayaw butangig mali siya because that's only natural and natural na siya nga na-exist sa body sa atong bata. Next is the maturity. So, depende if mature, like, feeling mo mature na ba yung anak and na ba siya sa saktong edad nga i-open up na nimo. So, previous knowledge and your own values and comfort levels. So, the answers should be appropriate for the age. Kay, for example, during the 11 or 10, no, 13, 14, 15, 16, the teenage years, we should, sa kana nga mga tuig or sa kana nga mga edad sa atong anak, we should probably teach them like the basic sex education or like anything that you know about sex. It's not because you are encouraging them to perform the activity. It's just so ma-aware sila nga if ilahaning buhaton unsay consequences or if ilaning perform activity unsay mahitabo. And it will also help our children nga maka-avoid og early pregnancy or teenage pregnancy, which is kanang common na kayo karon sa ato ang lugar because wala mo gitaro nga sexual education ng ato ang children. So sexual education is really important.
Sexuality education of adolescents and young adults. What is puberty? Puberty is defined as a stage of physical development when sexual reproduction first becomes possible. But of course, along with these physical changes also come drastic emotional, hormonal, psychological, and social changes as well. So puberty mostly niya kanang when your body begins to develop and change as you move from kid to adult. Yeah, like girls developing their breasts, yang sa boys naman is starting to look more like men, like kanang mature na kasi sila tanawan ganyan. Kanang magka-muscle na sila, inana, yang sa girls sad kay kanang sugod na sila kanang conservative, sila mga panit, nana, sugod nagpagwapa. Yeah, changes during puberty. Yeah, mo ni sa voice sa girls. So, sa boys is penis develops. Yes, voice deepens. Mausap nilang tingog. Yeah, butcher na ba? Yeah, facial hair grows. Yeah, sperm production starts. Yeah, sa girls sad kay mo na ang breast develop. Kanang mo sugod pamukol man na. Period start. Mana doon sugod niya, hips widen, mausab. Yan sa both is hair grows on sex organs, spots appear. Notice the opposite sex more. Niya, armpit hair grows, niya, growth spurt, niya, hair grows on legs. Muna siya mga changes kanang changes sa usa ka babae ug laki nga nanasa kanang during puberty. Yeah. Next is the challenge of being adolescent. So this is being a teen is a difficult time. They need to develop their own identity. Pagpalambo silang kaugalingong pagkatao. Ang sa second is accept the way they look. Dawaton ang unsa ilang hitsura, establish intimate relationship with their peers. Understand and control their sexual impulse. Establish their adult sexual rule and orientation. Assume responsibility for their decision and their action. Muna siya mga challenges ko. Naka sa adolescence na ka. Yeah. Last is masturbation. Masturbation is an act of self-pleasuring, stimulating one's genitals for the purpose of sexual arousal. The act of masturbating in adolescence is not only an erotic experience, it allows your child to discover and become more comfortable with their own body. It is fact that nearly all boys and girls will masturbate at some point during their teen years. Remember these things. Masturbation is normal and healthy. It is low-risk activity. It should be done in private and most important, do not lay a guilt trip on your son or daughter. So, masturbation can actually be good for our health, both mentally and physically. And it's pretty much as safest sex out there. There's no risk of getting pregnant, or your body releases endorphins, which are hormones that block pain and make you feel good. Kundi na siya healthy for our body, ang masturbation.
Weight gains and unwanted erections. Some young people says that they have a weight dreams like they don't know why it is happening even though wala sila naghuna-una, but according from the study, it is normal na mahitabo sa usa ka tawo nga moabot sila ing ana nga butanga. Kani sad ay kini kasagaran sa mga teenager ug mga young adult apan ang mga lalaki sa bisan unsang edad mahimong makafeel og random erections. Kini mao nga normal ug mahimong nagpakita sa healthy nga sexual functions. Abstinence. Dili ka mag-overthink sa ingana nga butang vaccines to keep you healthy. Reduce number of sex partners, have a loyalty, and to avoid exaggerating sexual active. Kaning mutual monogamy. It is the good thing to avoid any sexuality disease and have a good relationship. Use condoms. Some would say it was advisable. Maybe yes, because according to doctors, that was the best way to avoid the STDs and can avoid of having big responsibility of something wrong happens.
Now let's talk about education of adults. It's defined as consisting of teaching about woman's sexuality, intimate relations, being sexuals, autonomy, sexuals, reproductive, sexuality transmitted, infects, sexual activity, sexual orientation, gender, identity, abstinence, conception of reproduction, rights and women's rights and responsibilities. Sex education is high-quality teaching and learning about a broad variety of topics related to sex and sexuality. Exploring values and beliefs about those topics are gaining the skills that are needed to navigate of relations and manage one's own sexual health. That's all. Thank you.
Sex education of adults. How the egg cells and sperm cell meet. Female genitalia, external and internal. Female reproductive system, fallopian tube, ovary, uterus, vagina, endometrium, cervix. Male pelvis, seminal vesicle, I think every adult should know how sexuality in order to build the happy, healthy sex life they deserve. You'll probably notice that these are not your typical 10 things that will drive your partner wild. These are the deeper things we all need to have. We bring ourselves to the bedroom. Sex doesn't exist outside of who we are in the rest of our lives. We bring all of the messages that we receive from our family, history, and culture into our sex lives, whether we're aware of it or not. This creates expectations our partner might not share or shame that can be hard to let go. To truly understand ourselves and be present in our sex lives, we have to spend time digging into those messages and learning to disrupt the distress, the negative ones. Number 2, sexual is a journey. There is no point when we are done exploring our sexuality. Who we like, what we like, and how we like it can change from day to day, month to month, or over our lifetimes. This is totally normal and something to be embraced in ourselves and our partners. Number 3, our partners are not mind readers. I know it feels simple, but I've seen far too many couples struggle with this. We have to express with words how we're feeling, what we have liked, and what we need. Our partners cannot figure this out without help. How we have these sometimes difficult conversations, a lot of open and honest communication, a willingness to be vulnerable, and some really great listening. Number 4, everyone is different. In many years selling sex toys, the most common question I was asked was, which one is the best? Which one is the best? The answer is that there is no best, there's just the best for you. That doesn't just go for sex toys, that goes from everything. Everyone is different. One person's too hard is another person's too soft. One person's I don't like that is another person's I love it. This is what makes sex fun. We get to explore and learn about ourselves and someone else. Number 5. Fact number 5. Good sex is not a formula. There isn't any one way that you have to feel or any one thing that you have to do to be a good sex partner or have a good sex life. There isn't an amount of sex you need to be having, and most people aren't having as much as think, or a way you need to feel, or a trick you need to learn to have good sex. It can be whatever you want and need it to be. Fact 6. Pleasure matters. Our partner's pleasure and our own pleasure deserve an equal amount of attention, care, and curiosity. If you're only in it for your own pleasure and not your partner's, or conversely, if you're only focused on your partner's pleasure and not on your own, that means there's something missing, and it's time to think about what that's happening and what you can do about it. Number 7. Orgasm are nice but not required. There is a lot of effort, energy, and worry expanded on whether or not orgasm are happening in a sexual relationship. While orgasm are not, don't get me wrong, they should not be the only goal. Pleasure, intimacy, and connection are wonderful goals that don't involve pressure or orgasm. In fact, worrying too much about orgasm can actually make it harder to achieve, so focus on connecting first and then orgasm should they happen. The 8. The clit was it's where it's at. Important fact, 75% of people with a clitoris will need it to be stimulated in order to reach orgasm. I've talked to I've lost track of the amount of people I've talked to who were convinced that something was wrong with them because penetrative sex did not feel amazing. But in fact, the clitoris is the only organ in the entirety of human bodies that exists solely for a pleasure. Number 9 fact, your penis size is fine. Is fine. Did you know that the most good question about sex is about penis size? Our culture.
Good day everyone. So let's proceed to my topic, which is the sexuality in later life. So what happens in later life in terms of sexuality? So sexuality, as we all know, that it includes the desire to continue an active and satisfying sex life. So it has changes. So number 1, normal aging. Normal aging brings physical changes to both men and women. And as we all know that if a man or a woman changes or ages, if a man or a woman ages, it affects the ability to have and enjoy sex. So for example, a woman, so if a woman ages, her vagina walls can become stiffer and thinner, while a man, if a man ages, his impotence or erectile dysfunction may not as firm as or large as it used to be. And we have also causes of sexual problems. So number 1, the arthritis. So due to arthritis, it can make sexual contact uncomfortable. And also we have chronic pain, the dementia, or for example in dementia, it may not recognize their spouse or partner. And we have also diabetes, the heart disease, the incontinence, the stroke, depression, surgery, medications, and alcohol. So that's the causes of sexual problems. So as men grow older, they produce less testosterone, which correlates lower sexual desire and activity. Genetical sensitivity decreases. So for example here, as men grow older now, so they produce less testosterone, or it cannot produce enough testosterone. That's why their sexual desire becomes lower. So that is for men. And also for women, libido increases, or libido means the sexual desire. So the libido increases as naturally produced testosterone becomes the women dominant sex hormone. The vagina lubricates more slowly and becomes smaller and more elastic. So many couples abandon their sex lives rather than considering how they might adapt. And also partner over 60 may have unprecedented opportunity to become in sync. At mass, retarded ejaculation is well suited to the longer time a woman needs to become aroused. So birth control is over, children are no longer likely to burst into the bedroom, and both partners have not more time than they used to do. So mao to kay
it's because there are changes. Changes happen between the couple. So, but it depends if a woman or men nga kanang naaman joy usa sa ila alay kanang syempre like kanang sa pangindaron it usas kanang sa ilahang usa is dili jud na kanang malikayan nga kanang nanay dili makig sex sa ilaha. It's because of the normal aging.
So, hi guys, good day. I am Kathleen Flores and now let's talk about sex education for special. So, here is a brief definition for children with special needs. So, a special needs child is a youth who has been determined to require special attention and specific necessities that other children do not. So, these are the children who required special attention and special necessities because kini sila ang children who are not capable of doing anything just like other children can do. Dili sila capable sa tanang butang, maong gitawag sila og disable because na yung mga butang nga dili nila kayang buhaton. So there are types of special children including visual impairment, problema sa pananaw, hearing impairment, problema sa pandungog, locomotor impairment, problema sa physical appearance, or also called as cerebral palsy. So, cerebral palsy gani, it is a group of disorder that affects person's ability to move and maintain balance and posture. So, meaning, dili sila stable physically. So, pungkol baron or kimpang baron. So, muna ang locomotor impairment. So, now, let's move forward. So, what about when the child has special needs? Should he or she sit still in with the class to learn about this topic? Is it better to avoid this subject or to teach it one-on-one to the child? So, in this case, so assuming that you are already a parent, so as a parent, you have the choice whether to include your child with the class as they learn about sexual education. So, choice na nimo kung you as a parent, kay bawa naman jud ka kung asa mas pabor imuhang bata. So, kanang if you see your child is capable nga makig join sa laing children, so why not to include him or her sa class, no, to join, to attend the class, to learn about this topic. Or if you see your child is not capable nga makihalubilo sa laing children, so much better kung imo na lang siyang i-one-on-one pagtudlo to learn about the topic, and much better pod para mas ma-explain nimo siya og tarong sa imong bata. But you must be prepared also for the word questions coming from her or him. Kay syempre bata is curious and bisag unsa lang ang maunsod sa nauna nga pangutana. So you must be prepared also for that.
Another issue to understand is how puberty may differ according to various special needs. For example, latex allergies are also more common in people with spina bifida, and if that is the case, the child needs to understand about using non-latex condoms. So, ang mga allergies sa latex mas common usab sa mga tao nga naay spina bifida o kung mauman gani na ang kahimtang, kinahanglan masabtan nato or sa mga bata ang bahin sa paggamit sa non-latex condom. So, let's proceed to sexually risk assault and abuse. No one wants to think about the negative aspect of having sex. Some risks include sexually transmitted diseases, pregnancy, abuse, and assault. So, wadyo'y ganahan no nga maghuna about sa mga negative aspects sa makig-sex. Ang uban mo risk jud sa naglakip sa mga sakit nga gipasa kung makig-sex na ay mamabdos, pag-abuso ug pag-atake. A child who has never been taught about sex may not realize that he or she is being assaulted. According to some reports, children with disabilities have a 2 times greater chance of being sexually abused. So, Ang usa ka bata nga wala pa matudloe bahin sa 6 mahimong dili siya makaamgo nga giatake na di ay siya. According sa mga reports, ang mga bata nga naay disabilities kay naay chance ma-sexually abuse. Here are some reasons why teens with disabilities have a higher risk of STD, pregnancy, and assault. Number 1, impulsive behavior. Impulsivity is the tendency to act without thinking. This kind of behavior is common, especially in children or teenagers, and isn't necessarily a sign of trouble. So, ang impulsivity mao ang tendency nga mo lihok nga wala maghuna-huna pananglitan. Kung magsulti ka sa usa ka butang, magbuhat kag usa ka butang nga wala nimo planuha. Number 2, poor social skills. People with poor social skills have high levels of stress and loneliness in their lives. Social skills refer to the communication skills that allow people to interact effectively and appropriately with others. So, ang mga tao di ay nga naay dili maayo nga mga kahanas sa social naay taas nga levels sa stress o kamingaw sa ilang mga kinabuhi. Number 3, inability to recognize social clues. Social emotional agnosia, also known as emotional agnosia or expressive agnosia, is the inability to perceive facial expressions, body language, and voice intonation. A person with this disorder is unable to non-verbally perceive others' emotions in social situations, limiting normal social interactions. Ang social emotional nga agnosia mao kini ang mga inability nga masabtan ang mga ekspresyon sa noun, body language, og tono sa tingog. Ang usa ka tawo nga adunay ingon ani nga sakit dili makasabot sa ug unsaon pagsulti sa mga emosyon sa uban sa social nga mga sitwasyon nga naglimit sa normal nga social nga pakig-uban. Number 4, poor organizational skills. Poor organizational skills make people less efficient and less effective. Dili ta maka-fulfill sa atong task. Ang poor organizational skills di ay maka-affect sad sa atong health. That's all. Thank you.